Welcome to another beautiful day. It is a rainy day in the FCT. I don't know how it is in your area. Maybe Nasarawa also, and the neighboring states might also experience the heavy downpour that was being experienced in the FCT today. Bringing to you right now is the headlines for the day. My name is Ramsey Enoch, and Sadatu and Michael are right here. Good morning, Sadatu and Michael.
Good morning, Mr. Michael. Good morning, Mr. Ramsey. Thank God it's Friday.
Thank God it's Friday.
Outnumbered as usual.
You guys are looking Friday. You're looking like Ajia
Yes.
Sadatu, not King Sad this
I
morning.
decided to represent
Then this one is
today.
looking like Obi.
Ballet.
Obi.
Ballet.
Okay, the ballet of
This is
Ogun
ballet,
State.
Yeah, ballet of
Yanopaja.
State.
All right, so let's go straight to the headlines for the day. Delhi Independent is where I'm starting from. Federal government clarifies seizure of Nigeria's 3 presidential jets in France. I have 4 riders to that story. Assures on steps to discharge inappropriate orders against jets. Assures on steps to discharge inappropriate orders against jets. Chinese firm plotting to strip Nigeria's offshore assets. The presidency is the one saying that. Then Ogun government have said the firm misled French court on presidential aircraft. Obi says seizure is international embarrassment. Ask federal government to come clean. That's the former presidential candidate of the Labour Party's secretariat invasion. That's the kicker still on. The Delhi Independent NLC debunks police explanations about terrorists. There is one writer to that story, accuses federal government of meddling in union activities. Okay, details read on page 7. Despite court order, APC NWC still recognizes Rivers Okocha-led CTC. And that's the much I will be taking, just this few headlines. You can pick a copy of the Daily Independent if any of the stories interest you. You can see from the cover page down inside so that you can actually look through it yourself. Let's get to the next paper, Michael. Which paper do we have?
the Nigerian Tribune. Let's move to Nigerian Tribune away from that and above the header. News on page 6. Despite rising price of items, NBS says inflation rate drops to 33.40%. And then NJC recommends Kekere Eko as CJN, 28 others as judges. Now the big story on the Nigerian Tribune today: anger as French court orders seizure of 3 presidential jets. About 3 riders to the story over dispute between Ogun State, Chinese firm. Federal government has no contractual obligation with Chinese firm coming from the presidency. Process attaching aircraft to contract fraudulent. That is from Ogun State government. Says legal diplomatic steps on course to ensure discharge of inappropriate order. And the last one, secret purchase of presidential jet despite outcry. Insensitive. That is coming from the presidential candidate Peter Obi. And then the last story I'll take on the Nigerian Tribune today: Nigeria battles multiple diseases as mpox cases rise to 39. Details on page 2. Do well to pick a copy of Nigerian Tribune today and enjoy. Over to you, Sidatu.
Thank you, Michael. Let's take a look at Daily Trust and all the juicy headlines that come with today's paper. Okay, the first headline says, Presidential Jet FG Ogun rebuff China firm claims. The second headline says, mixed feeling as inflation drops in July. And then the other story says, MPOS, federal government put Abuja, Kano, Lagos, 6 order on high alert. Then the big story says, petrol pump price near 1,000 litre in FCT and other states. And then there are 3 riders to that story: supply on, off nationwide, CSO knocks NNPCL. And then this one says, National Oil Company silent. And then the next headline says, why EFCC is holding NACOM chairman. And then there's another story there that says, APC dismissed claim of Ganduji replacement, fixed September 12 for meeting. Okay, and then the last story says, flood 3.7 million Kano residents, 3,602 communities at risk, says Embark. And that's the size of the Daily Trust paper. If for further reading, do well to grab a copy.
Thank you, Sadatu.
Over to you, Mr. Ramsey.
Thank you very much. This is Friday. Let's look at the Daily News Hub, and the very story to the right hand side on this news hub says a seizure of presidential jet, international embarrassment. Peter Obi knocks Tinubu. Well, he's always talking. He's so outspoken these days. Someone said behind closed doors, why is Peter be commenting and being everywhere? He comments on almost everything. Right. All right, let's get to the big story on the news hub this morning, which says disquiet in Aso Rock over presidential jets seized in France. As federal government makes frantic efforts to recover seized aircraft, tackles Chinese company. Then the second rider says it deploys AGF, NSA, other top officials to explore diplomatic legal means. And just one more and I will be done with the news hub. This one says the Senate counters. Somaila says we don't get 21 million naira as salary or allowance. That's coming from the Senate. And that's going to be the size of the headlines from the Daily News Hub this morning. Let's go on a quick break. After this break, we'll return back and we'll talk about the seizure of the 3 jets in France. What has led to that? Why must a presidential jet be also seized? What are these jets doing in France? Why did Ogun State collect this loan from China? And why is China reacting like this? More details coming on your way after the break.
Follow us on our social media handles at Oweleke TV. Visit our website at www.oweleke.tv for a thrilling journey. Oweleke TV, rising star at the fairground.
Welcome back from that break. It is still outnumbered live on your screen on this beautiful Friday morning. It's a rainy day. Where are you right now? What are you doing? Are you back to office? Are you still driving? Wherever you are viewing us from right now, we want to let you know that 3 Nigerian-owned jets linked to the presidential jet fleet have been reportedly seized in France and Switzerland due to an ongoing dispute between Ogun State and Chinese company Zhongshan. The seizure actually followed a ruling by a French court which authorized the aircraft confiscation. Then questions begin to come to mind. When did this happen? This happened long ago. Who actually entered this contract, this agreement? Which governor did that? And as a matter of fact, what really resulted to this? These are the things we should be looking at. And as a matter of fact, I think Peter Obi is saying, well, this is an international embarrassment. This is coming from the presidential candidate of the Labour Party in the 2023 presidential election. Now, let's look at it holistically. Why did this happen? What were these jets doing in France? According to one of the papers, it's been said they are actually there for maintenance. Then, the question you ask is, there is no smoke without a fire. Yeah, exactly. China is a country that has been supporting Nigeria. Nigeria borrowed so much from country in the China in the past. And there is this kind of relationship between the Nigerian government and the Chinese government. And right now, this is happening. This is a company, all right, a Chinese company, not China itself, not Chinese government now. Yes. But anything, the reason why the federal government is even inclusive in this is because these 3 Nigerian-owned jets are actually linked, all right, to the presidential jet fleet. And they are undergoing maintenance and in France, and they have been seized because of this. I don't know why this should happen. If there is anything, why just take the case to court? And the French court gave the order that these jets should be confiscated. Why not confiscate the company? All right, or maybe go to Ogun State and maybe the company that entered the agreement or the person that entered the agreement should be held responsible. Because one of the things that these people do is that when they're in government, they do and undo,
Exactly.
and they do these things and they leave. So how do we get here?
It's very appalling, because from what I'm seeing, I can see that there's also a last week option of a letter that was sent to Zhongshan, the company Zhongshan, from Ogun State. Now, Ogun State did not give up on a reasonable settlement option with the recent letter sent to Zhongshan last week. They only responded after obtaining the latest illegal letter from a court of law. And remember that this thing has been dated as way back as 2013 to 2015. Remember, they applied to have an area, which is an area-free trade zone in Ogun State. And as way back as I read, or as I understood, they've had this mutual thing happening, but then it's just like paying for land and fencing it and not doing what you promised to do in the land. The Chinese company was supposed to build this free trade zone, and they did not. The agreement was reached, but then the breaching started, because after you paid for the land and in subsequent years, from now to 2015, you did not come to do what you're supposed to tell us. 2017, what's happening now? Based on legal advice, I think Ogun State government now, they're trying to resist the enforcement on the land, because going to attach 3 jets, which is on routine maintenance in Paris, it's actually supposed to be immune to the case we're talking about, because you can't start correlating a case that involves you and Ogun State government
to the whole federation.
Yeah, to the federation, which we know that the Ogun State government has said, hey, we've been trying to resolve this case with this Chinese company, Zhongshan, since the year they started. Now, remember that in 2019, there was an arbitration hearing that also concluded. The presidency provided a background to the case. A contract between Ogun State and Zhongshan to manage trade zone was executed in 2007. That's as way back. The parties entered into a dispute in 2015. Then arbitration started 2016. So if they had a dispute, like 2007 was the year, we had this deal signed, and from then to 2015.
Was it not Benga Daniel's time? That's a long time ago.
That's a long time.
That's a very long time.
I think
so,
it maybe I can't remember, but it's like that's Benga Daniel's time. I'm thinking.
So now the federal government is saying we are here to protect, always work to protect our national assets from predators and Shylock who masquerade themselves as investors. Remember, like the P&ID case, foreign companies are trying to defraud Nigeria, is what the federal government is actually saying, in collaboration with some bureaucrats. Now, remember that if Chinese company misled the Judicial Court of Paris regarding the use and nature of the asset,
and I heard that they didn't even submit all a document attached to the case. They just
so
gave the one that they
feel we make the French court give them a letter to impound this jets that belong to federal government, and Nigeria is saying this is fraudulent.
And the same company, they said they've gone against USA and UK, and they failed.
Yeah, and they failed. So now the nature of the presidential jet and asset, remember, it's sovereign. It's a sovereign entity. And it's also protected by diplomatic immunity. France does not have that destiny to start.
But I don't think they actually confiscated this jet. For so far, I don't think they have, because the immunity is there.
The immunity is there.
They have to do their deep investigation before carrying out any action.
But what we're hearing is that this the court have already given a judgment that this jet should be confiscated, and these are jets. The 3 jets are worth about $100 million.
Absolutely, and then
because the jets
correlation between Ogun State, the contract you have with Ogun State government with seizing federal government jet, and which is in Paris.
I think
checkups.
Nigeria may end up even suing these people, because the jets were actually taken there to Switzerland for maintenance. You understand? We're talking about
they are still in Paris.
The Dassault Falcon 7X is in Paris. Then a Boeing 737 and of course an Airbus A330 are valued at over $100 million. That's huge money. But this contract we're talking about here, like you said, You were supposed to do something and you
And
didn't do
I
it.
think that's where they can take a case against the company.
They only erected a perimeter
fence.
fence.
That's just it.
We signed a contract for a free trade zone, erected a perimeter fence since 2017 to 2015. That's when we now had a dispute. That's after 8 years. And then from then, we had an arbitration, a peaceful arbitration. Let's settle this in 2016.
Even in 2019, they tried to
this
settle
whole
the
thing
case.
legal. And the latest was held, I think is in London, where Nigeria tried to have a peaceful discussion with them, which lasted for a week. So now, what correlates an investment in Ogun State to confiscating federal government assets? I don't see that.
I don't
see
see
that
that.
as an
Okay,
unscrupulous element.
let me just give,
advantage.
as we close, let me just give a breakdown of what we're talking about. Here is a timeline of the event from the investment deal to the legal battle. 2021, China and Nigeria signed a bilateral investment treaty to encourage investment between the two countries.
So it's still between Chinese government and
Nigeria government. Then 2010, Zhongshan Fucheng Industrial Investment through its parent company, Zhuhai Zhangfu Industrial Group, acquired rights to develop the Ogun Gondong Free Trade Zone, that is OGFTZ, in Ogun State, Nigeria. Then in 2011, Zhongshan set up a local entity, okay, that's Zhongfu International Investment, NIG, that's Nigeria FZE, that is Free Trade Zone, to manage the development of the Free Trade Zone. Then the Chinese firm then carried out several works, including the development of infrastructure such as road, sewage, and power network within the zone. Then in 2012, okay, as we try to round up, Ogun State appoint Zhongfu as the interim manager of the Ogun State Free Trade Zone. Then in 2013, meaning all the while there have been some engagement. It's not as if I wonder why they even took the and Nigeria's government. And so I wonder why down to 2013 a joint venture agreement.
Not all the Chinese companies. We have so many Chinese companies in Nigeria.
Yeah, in 2013 a joint venture agreement was even signed, all right, with making Zhongfu the permanent manager of the Ogun State Free Trade Zone, giving it a majority shareholding in the project.
In terms of 60%
yes,
shareholding.
and in 2016, Ogun State abruptly terminated Zhongfu's appointment and took action to expel the company from Nigeria, including harassment of its executive and revocation of immigration papers. This is where the problem started from. Then in 2017, Zhongshan initiated arbitration proceeding against Nigeria. Okay, so the case has been on, claiming breach of the bilateral investment treaty that was being signed earlier. Then in 2021, on the 26th of March, that's 2021 now, the tribunal chaired by Lord Norberja, the former president of the UK Supreme Court, ruled that Nigeria breached its obligation under the China-Nigeria BIT and issuing a final award of $55.6 million.
Which is amounting to about $70 million.
Yes.
$70 million. So
okay.
Let's
in additional, okay, to an interest rate of $9.4 million. This is so much. Okay. And the cost of about 2.8 million payable by Nigerian to Zhongshan, the total amount is about $70 million.
So there's a whole lot. If you go into the story, we won't leave the story today. But the truth is, the dispute all started, and they've been trying to have a peaceful mediation and settlement, and it's not been working. But then confiscating Nigerian jet is not the best way to move forward.
We have a lot
illegal.
of Chinese company in Nigeria.
We have a very good relationship. I think the Chinese government needs to come into the situation so that the relationship we have with the Chinese government doesn't get soured, because we already have an existing relationship. This is something that can be handled. I think it's so good that the federal government is even in the picture. The Chinese government should also come into the picture so that this can be actually ironed out amicably. There are so many things to talk, because Nigeria sought state immunity in a legal case but was denied by the High Court in the UK. That was in 2023. Then in 2024, that this thing is coming up now as we round up, the United States Court of Appeal for the Direct District of Columbia affirmed the enforceability of the arbitration award, and that's why all of this is coming up now. Well, this is August. Nigeria jets were seized in France as part of the efforts to enforce the arbitration award against Nigeria. all right, in 2024, initially by the United States. Let's see what the federal government is actually going to do. So many things will still be discussed subsequently as we bring you to speed with how it is actually unfolding. My name is Ramsey Enoch. Have a beautiful weekend ahead of you. Bye-bye for now.